Hi, intrepid viewers. Dr. Lena Rodriguez here, sociologist reporting from Australia, where it's already tomorrow. Okay, so I want to kick off here with the madness generally that's going on. It's really important to focus on those impacted by those dozens of tornadoes roaring through those states, and they're getting virtually no support. One or two of the states is getting a bit more financial aid than the others, but not much and not enough. Okay. So my question with this is, will, because don't forget, the Yeti, his ambition is to cut FEMA altogether, plus a good thing to cut money on the meteorological societies, the people who give you advance warning for these events, right? And he's cutting all that. So my question is, will people start suing the Yeti and others over this? First of all, not enough notice. Second of all, no help. How can anyone think cutting FEMA is a good idea? Let's look at that. But I'm working up to my big questions today about the legal eagles. Okay, but we'll start with weather. Okay, so will people sue? Look, the short answer is I would say yes, and sooner rather than later. So if I look a bit weird today, and Pacey, it's because I've just been to the dentist and I've had dental injections. At this point, well, this could be the card of flooding, couldn't it? West Virginia is really bad. But people are still emotional. They're still in the emotional state. Some are weighing up the value of doing this. With this Two of Pentacles, it's about money. Is it worth doing this? Court cases are not quick, as we know. Will we do it or won't we? I think they will, because people will realize they have right on their side. Any civilized government, any first world country has national disaster relief. You know, you can cut all sorts of things, but it's usually not one of them. But this is a man who's already cutting the federal education department. Yes, I think court cases will go ahead, and I think we won't have to wait very long to see that. I don't know how successful they'll be. We'll keep an eye on it, but that's it. Meanwhile, Donald Marie Antoinette Trump is planning this weekend to go to the wrestling championships. I think this has to start looking offensive even to the most hardened MAGA voter. He's been golfing, winning his own tournaments. It's true end of the Roman Empire stuff, isn't it? It's just so out of touch as to be mind-bending. So will people start to understand with this? I know, the more the question, and I probably keep asking it every video because I'm waiting for a different answer. I want to know when people will start to associate Trump and use his name for their pain. So 660 million has just been cut from food and nutritional programs for children in schools. Right. Now, everyone hates Doge. Excuse me while I have a gulp of coffee. Everyone hates Doge, Department of Bread and Evil. Well, not everybody. It probably has 3 admirers left, but they're dwindling. But they're not calling Trump out on these cuts. They're not making that connection. They're so rusted on. Let's have a look. Will they start to connect what with weather events, the cuts to Medicaid, the cuts to education? Will they connect it with the Yeti? Will they connect it with the Yeti? Let's see. Oh, I was shuffling the whole time I was ranting and raving. Oh, they're still in bed. No, they're still in bed with him. Still in bed with him. Ah, look, humans can be disappointing, can't they? I'm going to pull some more cards on this because I think it's the key question. It's not till MAGA become disenchanted with him that things will really shift. This is that ambivalent card we just had. We had the wedding card. I thought, oh, goody, things are moving on from, them all loving him. But no, the lover's card. Ooh, they don't get it. There is no cure for stupid. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Well, let's hope their capacity to learn picks up because at this rate, God knows. So I'm going to pull some more cards on this issue. What what will it take? What will it take for MAGA to actually realise their beloved leader is the problem? He is the source of their pain. What will it take? Let's have a look with the other cards. These are very direct, these cards. Good outcome. Replace or exchange. All for the money. Strategy planning. Well, look, I think what's happening, I hate to say it, but it sort of explains it. They're hoping he's going to save them from this nasty Musk over here, nasty Doge. He's going to save them. Replace or exchange. Just get rid of Doge. So that you see what I mean? They are not there yet. All for the money. Until they realize he's only in it for money, strategy planning, until they come up with a strategy and a plan. And I've said this before, let's all universally try and manifest this one. MAGA got him in, MAGA needs to get him out. So they're not there, but they're getting there because every turn, they're going to be impacted every turn of Social Security. Okay. Now, okay. Chevron has announced it's going to drill less in Texas. Now, this is the sort of story we need to get the MAGAs to realize he's not working for them, right? So Chevron, they're cutting 20% of their workforce because they're drilling less in Texas. Yes, you heard it right, in Texas. Right? Now, speaking of big companies and so forth, I was looking at some of the manufacturing that's disappeared in the US. Thanks to Reagan, everyone forgets that. It was Reagan and Thatcher who wanted cheap manufacturing offshore, mainly to Asian countries, which led to the decline of the big manufacturing industries that employed blue-collar workers. And that's why I believe, as a sociologist, we've got this toxic masculinity now. So men who used to be proud of doing, dirty, dangerous jobs, but they were doing it and they were providing for their families. That gave them a masculine identity, that's lacking now. So one of the industries that went into decline was aluminum. Aluminum, I can't say it the American way, it's aluminium everywhere else. So aluminum sounds so wrong in my mouth, I can't tell you. Okay. You used to have 30 processing plants, big processing plants, and now there's 4. So that's the weird thing. He's not attempting to cushion the pain by opening steel factories or anything. And these big industries take years to get something ready and running. So we'll do it now. Things are going badly for Elon. That makes us happy. Now, what I want to have a look at now is, let's just, oh, my cards are doing weird things. Let's just have a look. In other news, the tariff on Australian beef will mean the cost of hamburgers will go up at McDonald's. I kid you not, because everywhere that produces beef has been tariffed. Oh, it's crazy. Okay, focus, Lena. Now, with the musclet, he's still got that child around. And it's been pointed out to me by viewers. It's really weird, right? He's got 14 children. He's obviously not seeing the other 13 children. He's prioritizing and hothousing this one child. And apparently the reason is because the mother wants her child back. So he's doing this to spite the mother of that child. He's such an awful creature. But things are not going well for Tesla. Look at these protests. So let's just check in on what's happening for the muskrat, and then we'll move to the legal stuff, which is really important. Quick look at the muskrat. All right, now 2 more out of this deck. Oh, okay. Now what's happening here is interesting. Oh, I only pulled 4 cards on Leonia, and they're all major arcana. If you know anything about tarot, that's pretty rare. There's only 22 majors in the deck, and to get 4 out of 4 cards, oh my God. So he gets the moon. I mean, he's seriously delusional. The moon can be a sign of mental health issues, howling at the moon. And I've seen snippets of him interviewed recently, and he's looking weirder and weirder. I don't know who's doing his Botox, but they're not doing a very good job because he looks like he's out of a wax museum. But he is not in a good place. Now look at these cards. This is the death card, end of a cycle. Looks like the Yeti being trampled underfoot. We can only, throw thoughts behind that. But we're talking about Musk. The image in this card, can you see the religious figure is begging death to spare the king? And in this case, Musk is the king, right? but death spares no one. So he's torn between, I think he's getting quite schizophrenic. I don't mean that in a clinical sense. I think he has other issues between the private side and the public side. So I think that this is the death of Tesla, and it is the death. Tesla is not going to recover from this. And in private, he's hugely worried, but this spiral is very public. What were the two extra cards? Worldwide Earth. These are global, absolutely global demonstrations and protests, the whole wide world, and the science breakthrough. And I think what that is some other EV developer has cracked the battery. It's all about battery power, apart from anything else, that can charge very quickly and last longer. And that will be the death knell fully to Tesla. Oh, okay. Now, hold on. I need another gulp for this. Now, all these legal cases. Now, we have what's happening is, not surprisingly, sorry, I have to sort these cards out. I put some in back the front. If we look at the cases, and there's so many, we can only look at a couple. One is the Judge Chutkan case. And that's with the Dem states. That's right. 14 Dem states are saying legally, what is Doge? What are the parameters of Doge? A government department cannot be miraculously invented overnight. What is it? And these are good legal questions. But of course, the lawyers are refusing to comply, just like the judge who tried to stop the plane with the Venezuelans, only to find it was already in the air. Now, if you read the fine print on that case, Trump's lawyers were asked by the judge to submit the basic details. When they received the judge's order, which were oral orders, I think, and what time the plane took off, what time the plane landed, etc. And they said, no. Their actual testimony and sentence was, we are not going to give you the facts. We're not going to give you the facts, they said to the judge. Now, the judge is pretending that things were all right and saying, I'm giving you to 12 noon tomorrow to do this. This is an actual nightmare. Now, we all knew they would not comply with orders, so it shouldn't be a shock, but we're now seeing it happen. So, Justice Roberts of the Supreme Court, who seems to have been living in a sarcophagus for the last 4 years with the lid on, emerged long enough to say, well, we don't impeach judges here, although there's a technical ability to do so, because that's the threat. You make a determination that is adverse to the Yeti or to the muskrat, and the judges are threatened, just like they were in New York and everywhere else, right? And Justice Roberts whittled on about, well, for 250 years, we haven't done it like that. We respect the courts. Inadequate, totally mind-blowingly inadequate for this time. I don't know why I'm surprised, but I am. So, now that democracy is in intensive care in the legal system, I want to know about the Supreme Court. Now, we've watched Congress actually sign their own death warrant in the sense of failing to stand up in any way. Executive orders to the left, executive orders to the right. So is the Supreme Court going to make any sort of stand just to save itself? just to save itself. And there he is saying, no, we don't do this. He may as well have said, we don't even do it for our corrupt justices. Like. So let's see what's going to happen with the Supreme Court. Okay. We've been watching how Amy Coney Barrett is transitioning into a person who upholds the law. She's recused herself from this stupid case about can religious organisations run schools and get funding, but she appears to be at least worried by all these developments. So my question is, will the Supreme Court stand up for the country at any point with these cases? Will it stand up for itself? All right. Oh, look at this. Okay, a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you. Now, this is my card for the Yeti, the Emperor on the stone throne, right? Bows to no one, just get it done, just get it done. But he's now in a slightly, well, hopefully very different position. He could do it before and his people all loved him. Things are happening very quickly. We just got the death card for Musk, right? So if he actually even gets rid of Musk, so it'll look as if he's trying to distance himself. Not quite. Right. So past ideas were, this is my card really for trickle-down economics. So the Conservatives always pretend they're the ones who are good with money and the Dems are the spenders and irresponsible, and they do. Whereas the Dems every single time have had to bail out the excesses of the Conservative governments because, yes, they stop social spending, but they subsidise big industry with tax cuts and everything else. So this is my card of trickle-down economics. Now, the social media space is infinitely more important than it's ever been. And there are those little Twitter birds. And X is also a failing company. Now, what is this card about in this context? I think it's about, because the legacy media failed leading into the last election to even give Kamala a chance, let alone support her. They failed. They failed again. So social media is where the action is. What I'm hoping here in relation to the Supreme Court, I think they might do something significant to hold the line, but they're still in conversation behind the scenes. They're still handicapped, apart from having Alito and Thomas as rich, lazy, bent guys. This is a serious time in American history, but I think they're not quite there yet. They're still the justice is blind sort of thing. They haven't caught up. But this Page of Wands, this could be Amy Coney Barrett because I think it's a woman and she's young-ish. So when you're talking Supreme Court, she's very young. So I'm hoping, I might be giving her too much power, too much kudos, but every person who fights for the American Republic, it's that your enemy's enemy is your friend scenario, even after what she did with Roe versus Wade, even though we'd all like not to have to think about her ever again. She could be, or it could be one of the other liberal justices on the court who makes the final persuasive argument to shift them out of the twilight zone and engineer a victory for the Supreme Court. So let me share an idea with you, intrepid viewers. Why can't the majority of judges, state and federal, in the United States of America put it together a huge amicus brief, an amicus brief being it's a recommendation, it's not an actual commitment undertaking, but it's a strong recommendation that the Supreme Court should hold a special session and reverse their immunity decision. That could be one option. I think another option could be judges who have been threatened, and there's no shortage of those either. Judges who have been threatened could file a case with the Supreme Court, and an amicus brief could say, we know you're busy, Supreme Court, but this is priority one. And they could do clarifications around the immunity decision. I think two things have to happen for the country to come out of this. There'll be other things, of course, but the big things. One is MAGA has to peel off and work out it's their guy doing the damage. And the other is the Supreme Court has to come out of their powder puff reality and actually act in the interests of the country. So let me know what you think, guys. And I know there's a few of you who are lawyers out there. Is this naive waffling or are we there yet? Okay. Now, I'm not finished. Stop, stop, stop. Don't hang up. You know, if you watch the Hogarth channel with Hogelish, every week Hogarth does a Shakespearean insult for someone of the choice. And one of our viewers has produced the tarot deck of Shakespearean insults, and I'll pin that up. The other thing is, a very dear friend of mine has a new YouTube tarot channel called Beekeeper's Tarot. He's worth following. Have a look. And I'm sending you guys lots of love. Okay, so take care. Bye. Ciao, ciao. I've forgotten how to stop the video. Oh, there we go.